Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the first in a series of course orientation videos. Our one today will specifically be concerning the BSB40420, Certificate 4 in HR Management. My name is Tim Stalker. I'm one of the course advisors here at LET Training, and I'm being joined today by one of our senior tutors who specialises in HR Management, Ray McCall. Ray, thanks for joining us today.
Terrific. Thanks, Tim, for inviting me. I look forward to sharing this session with you.
Outstanding. Now, before we get started, actually, Ray, how about we just have a bit of a background of where you've come from before you've started training here with LET Training?
Sure, absolutely. I've certainly got quite a diverse range of management leadership experience, certainly within the HR domain, and that ranges both across industries and at local and national and regional levels. I've held positions in hospitality and tourism, particularly hotels, global hotel chains, facility services, vocational education and training, and more recently in community services in the human services sector. The scope of roles I've been involved in is as HR manager, as OD or organisational development manager, with national roles in learning and development, as well as Indigenous employment and development as well. So quite broad spectrum.
Fantastic.
And the interest areas for me, sorry, just adding in, are industrial relations and, as I mentioned, OD.
No problem, no problem. Now, just before we get started on the orientation, just a little bit of housekeeping. There are course advisors in the chat as well. So if you do have any questions, feel free to let them know. They'll be happy to help you out. We will also periodically during this orientation stop and ask if there are any questions. They'll be happy to help you, or alternatively, they will be able to provide you with the details to get in touch with the course advisor, and they'll be able to discuss those answers with you in more of a detailed situation. But anyway, let's get started today. And as I said, today we're talking about the Certificate 4 in HR Management. This is a nationally recognised course. It is the AQF Level 4. There are no specific prerequisites in order to enrol in this course in terms of previous study or experience. The Certificate 4 course also provides the entry requirements that you need to enrol subsequently into a diploma of HR management. Ray, what would you say is the major difference between the units in a Certificate 4 course and a diploma course?
Certainly, Tim. It's really in pitching where the focus is. At a level 4, Certificate 4 level, the focus, particularly from HRM, is on developing a solid foundational understanding of what we call HR processes and functions, things like recruitment, selection and onboarding, performance management. So it's focused on being able to do or practice all of those key HR functions. If we then zero in on the diploma or the level 5, it's taking that one step higher, looking at it from a manager's perspective. So it presumes, and you mentioned about entry requirements, it presumes you have that foundation in all of the functions, but now you're able to develop and implement the systems and processes around those functions. So you can develop the recruitment policy and procedure and train and support other people within the business to deliver on those systems and processes you've designed.
Great, fantastic. Moving on here now to our career outcomes. Now, the career outcomes we have here are just a few options on where the course could potentially lead you in terms of career, but it's by no means all the options. And as we see here, we've got ones such as HR administrator or officer. We've also got HR coordinator as well as operations administrator. Ray, based on your experience and with your background, what are some other potential positions you feel that people could open themselves up to by completing this course?
Sure. And just before I answer that, I'd just qualify as well. People may recognise a trend currently in situations vacant in the HR department that they're now couched in terms of people and culture, for example. So some of that terminology is actually changing as well. But to get back to your question, it's certainly at the level 4 level, level 4 will aid those people in team leader, supervisory, frontline management levels who have direct responsibilities for implementing HR processes, who are involved in the recruitment, the performance development, who are involved in payroll related issues, managing, core processing payroll, and understanding an industrial instrument.
Fantastic. I did also notice that we just had a question in chat regarding how many students we have enrolled with us. I'll just quickly answer that. Let Training, just as a bit of additional information, has been in operation since 2015. We currently have on the books, I believe it is currently over 1,000 students. I don't have the specific number. However, if you'd like to provide me with your email address, I can have a member of the admin team get specific numbers and we can get that information to you after the session today. And just getting back to the career outcome section, once you've completed your course, you can, as we've previously discussed, remain with HR by moving into a diploma level course. Alternatively, we're also able to branch out into other areas of business. We could recommend areas like certificate course in leadership and management, or potentially business operations. Ray, what would you recommend for people? Would you recommend moving into diploma of HR? Or would you recommend potentially branching out and diversifying their skill sets?
Look, I think that's a question that really one size fits one. It depends on the person themselves. If they certainly see a career or a potential to move forward from an HR perspective, I would certainly encourage moving on to the diploma of HR management. That said, as you've alluded, it may very well be that people are wanting to complement a certificate for in HR with a certificate for in WHS, work health and safety, given that depending on the size of the organisation and the nature of the industry or industry sector, that there may be a simultaneous requirement to have skills in both those areas. And as I mentioned before, someone who's coming at it from the point of view of being a frontline manager, needing to solidify their skills from an HR point of view, may then want to move on to, supporting that with either a certificate 4 in business or leadership and management, or moving to the diploma level from a career planning and a succession planning perspective.
Great. Okay. Just before we move on, I do notice we have another question in chat here. The question is regarding the difference between a HR administrator and a HR officer. Ray, I think this one for you to field.
Yeah, look, and it's always interesting making generic statements about titles because, again, it may differ from business to business, corporation to corporation, and so forth. However, just purely in my experience, an administrator, by the nature of the title, will focus on those administrative aspects of the HR function. So they would be working under an HR manager or comparable position and taking care of record keeping and records management, making sure, for example, that the HR information system and or the learning management system was appropriately populated, true and correct at all times, and then following up with other partners around the business and staff to ensure that all the administrative aspects are completed. Things like, your induction or onboarding checklist has been finalised, signed off and filed. By contrast, an HR officer, whilst they may have administrative functions and responsibilities, their role may also be flavoured with providing support and advice to other team members, to employees and or managers, for example. So people with inquiries about the award or enterprise agreement, the HR officer might be answering some of the very basic questions about that, or they might be conducting parts of, for example, the induction and onboarding training. So it may be more multifaceted, perhaps more directly involved in the functional role.
Great. Okay, thanks for that. Were there any other questions regarding career outcomes just before we move on to the next section? Okay, I'm not seeing any come up, so we'll move on for now, and we'll move on to another area, which is on the course outline. Now, the Certificate 4 in HR Management is a 12-unit course, and we give 12 months to complete it here at Let Training. And as we see, we've broken the course up instead of unit by unit for purposes of today's orientation. We've broken it down into skills that you'll be developing, so functional skills and professional skills. Now, Ray, can you give us an overview of how the professional skills that people are learning, like leading difficult conversations and processing payroll, how they connect back to the functional skills that we're a part of this particular course?
Sure. And again, a good question. You will have heard me talking about functions, HR functions. So you'll see the 6 items listed there. Pick up on those tangible HR roles and responsibilities: performance development in IR, L&D, recruitment, WHS, and so forth. But quite rightly, to be able to implement those functions, you need a skill bag of more generic capabilities, or what we might call transferable skills. And I'll start with difficult conversations. So, for example, performance development, particularly if we focus on the performance management side of things, disciplinary counselling, those will involve some fierce conversations, some critical conversations with people whose performance may be under the organisation's expectations. Coming out of that difficult conversation from a performance management point of view, we'll have to write a written warning letter, hence the right complex documents. And as we know, working in the HR sphere these days certainly comes with a lot of legal risk, opportunities, and certainly under Fair Work, people can lodge adverse action claims if, for example, there was not procedural fairness in what was done from a PD point of view, from first professional management, hence needing to understand how to manage risk in the organisation. Likewise, and I focused in on performance development, to be able to apply different ways of communication. You may be communicating around the PD piece with the manager and the supervisor. Your communication with them will certainly be different to the communication in conducting a particular conversation, and then the communication reporting upwards to either the department head or the general manager. So again, using PD as an example, how all of those skills really underpin being able to do, as it were, be an HR practitioner.
Great. And one other thing that we point out here quite a bit to people who are looking to enrol is that work at the moment, it is fairly fluid. People are moving from one position to another within a company, or they're moving from company to company at the moment. And the one thing we always recommend is that the professional skills are the skills you're going to be carrying with you for your entire career. There are very few positions in the workforce where leading difficult conversations is something that won't come up. There are few positions where writing complex documents may not be something that comes up. So we recommend that while the core of this particular course is those HR functions, and they are extremely important, the professional skills are more the skills that you're going to be carrying with you throughout your career. I do notice here also we have a question in chat. Let me just have a look here. We've got a question here, Ray, regarding the process payroll unit, specifically regarding a payroll system. Will they be learning a specific payroll system like Xero, or will I be learning the specifics around the processing of payroll? I think I can actually answer this one. With regard to the payroll, with regard to a lot of our units like this, what we're providing at Let Training are a set of generic skills that can be applied to any payroll, in this case, program. We want to make our course as approachable as possible. So we don't want to limit ourselves by just teaching one particular system or one particular style. So what we're providing instead is the skills that you can apply to any payroll unit, and that way this particular unit will apply to you. Would you like to add anything to that, Ray?
No, full support with what you said. Obviously, you will be exposed to single touch payroll from an electronic point of view, but again, quite rightly, that it's not seeing your graduation with a narrow one system outcome.
Fantastic. One other thing very quickly while we're on that subject of the course outline, These particular skills and particular units can be completed in any order you choose. Ray, as one of our tutors, where do you suggest students start their course?
Yeah, look, quite commonly, I recommend starting with the recruitment and onboarding unit. And I say that from the reason that coming into the program, often people who perhaps haven't had a lot of exposure to the HR department typically associate recruitment as the prime function. So there is that perception. And in the converse, for the most part, we've all experienced recruitment and onboarding in working for an organisation. So that brings a very practical understanding of the subject matter. So I always tend to zero in on recruitment and onboarding and then work from there, from the likes of performance development. Again, people have experienced perhaps a performance review, they've gone through learning and development, they've been exposed to WHS. I would tend to leave employee industrial relations towards the end because it is very legalistic with a focus on the Fair Work regime and system, and then the HR functions and processes is really what I call a capstone unit. It brings together all of those functions.
Great. And one thing as a course advisor, one thing we always recommend is where possible, start with a unit you're familiar with, start with a skill you're familiar with. That will then ease you into the submission of your assessments online, going through your resource material, contacting your trainer. It is easier if you're coming from a place that you even have a little bit of familiarity with. So that's one thing as a course advisor we always recommend. Start with something that you're familiar with and work your way into the newer skills. We'll just move on now. And I believe our next topic is facilitation, learning facilitation model. Now, as we've said, the course is a 100% online, self-paced and self-guided course. Now, what this means is there are no specific due dates for each individual unit. The only due date is for the entire course package itself. And in this particular circumstance, that is a 12-month enrolment term. It is 100% online. It can be completed anywhere where you have reliable internet access and access to a desktop or laptop computer. Currently, for example, we have students who are working in fly-in, fly-out positions. They are currently deployed with the Defence Force. We also have people in extremely remote areas of Australia and some who are even overseas completing their courses. The only thing we recommend in those circumstances is to please be aware that the trainers are available during office hours in Sydney time, so you may need to adjust accordingly if you are in a different time zone. Having a look here, we also provide a series of webinars to help support our students. This offers an interactive component to your study. The links for the webinars are provided to students if they are not able to watch it live. They will receive the links by email and they can watch them at a later time. Ray, you've done some of the webinars for the HR courses. What are some of the previous webinars relating to HR that you've been involved with?
Sure, quite a number, zeroing in on those functional areas. So I've delivered sessions around understanding what performance development is and performance management systems. I've, from an industrial relations point of view, conducted sessions distinguishing between what's employee relations, what's industrial relations. I've then have a whole range of other webinars that I've conducted around the Fair Work system, the National Workplace Relations System, not only from the point of view of what are the key components of it, but how to navigate your way around resources available from the likes of the Fair Work Ombudsman and the Fair Work Commission. So quite a range, even right down to developing a training plan, as it were. So targets are both global and very targeted in terms of topics.
Great, fantastic. Now, I do notice we have a question in chat, but we will get to that in just a moment because I just want to very quickly touch on the tutors that you'll be assigned with. Don't worry, we have seen your question. We will get to it in a moment. Now, just very quickly talking about the tutors. When students enroll, they are assigned a dedicated tutor who will be with them for the entire length of their course. And the tutor is there for support services. Now, they're available to contact via email, tutors will respond to students within 1 to 2 business days. However, sometimes a phone support session might be better. This is in cases of needing more specific information or specific support on a unit, or potentially requiring feedback from an assessment attempt. Those sessions are 30 minutes long, and we recommend booking in a couple of days in advance with the admin team or with your tutor. They are available between 9 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, and again, that is Sydney time. We also provide a number of Zoom sessions if you're a person who would prefer face-to-face contact. And those Zoom sessions, there are 2 of them per unit, and again, you will have to book in a couple of days in advance with your tutor. And we'll just have a look at this question now. The question is regarding, will I have to do a work placement in my practical assessments? I can field that one. The short answer to that question is no. None of our assessments require access to a work site or a work placement. Also, you don't need to attend a classroom to complete any assessment. The course is entirely online. It is entirely self-paced, and that means you don't need to go to an external agency to finish any of the assessments. Just while we're here, were there any other questions regarding the course outline or the facilitation of the course? We'll just wait here for a moment and see if there are. Yes, we do have another question coming in. How long do support sessions go for? Support sessions take on average 30 minutes. And in that time, tutors tend to be able to get through quite a bit of information. We always recommend being in front of your computer when you are having a support session. That way you've got access to your information while the tutor's going through it with you. We also recommend, when booking it in, to have your specific questions set up in advance. So you've got 30 minutes, make the most of it, have your questions there ready to go, and the tutor will go through it with you. Anything else you'd like to add to that, Ray?
No, the point you made last about being very clear of what you want to get out of it is critical, so that from both our point of view, that you get the most out of it, and as a tutor, we're prepared, and I mean that in terms of prior consideration of areas that we need to discuss. So no, that's my key point in that regard.
Fantastic. So we'll just wait another moment and see if any other questions are coming in. If not, we'll move on to our next section, which is on the assessment tasks. Now, there are 2 assessment tasks per unit. One of these is a knowledge assessment, and the other is a practical skills demonstration. And we'll just briefly touch on these. So the knowledge assessment is a series of short answer questions. There are no essay length answers in this course, and they're specifically designed so that the trainer can say, yes, the student has read through their resource material, they can comprehend it, they can understand it. After completing the knowledge assessment, you can then move on to the practical assessment. And there are multiple ways these assessments can be delivered. As we previously discussed, you don't need access to a work site or a classroom. We deliver them in such methods as case studies or simulated workplace events. And we also have recorded skill demonstrations or role play scenarios. Now, these role plays can be done with your tutor. They can also be done in your own time with, as we say, as course advisors, friends, family, or anyone who owes you a favour. And their video of that role play can be submitted to your tutor as your assessment attempt. Now, you can also submit those assessments at any time. You will get multiple attempts as well. One thing we'd like to make perfectly clear is repeated attempts at assessments do not incur additional fees. You also will not receive additional fees in the event that you do need support services. Now, Ray, as a tutor, where do you think most students come unstuck when it comes to their assessment attempts? What advice would you normally give them?
Look, 2 things that come to mind. Firstly, in terms of the knowledge-based, I clarified that they're not exams as such. They're not time constrained. They're activities that you can dip in and dip out of the task, which is available to you online on Enrolment. The second aspect is that when it comes to the project, it is all about demonstrating your ability to do or perform what the function is. So in the case of, and I'll pick on coordinate recruiting and onboarding, that you are able to undertake a recruitment and selection process, that you're able to put together an induction program. So it's very much you demonstrating your competency, which is fundamentally the idea that underpins the whole of the vocational education and training system. So it's about you're either competent or you're not yet competent. So when you mentioned before about a resubmission attempt, there may be a number of minor aspects that you're not yet competent. We need to work on those to get you to a stage where you demonstrate your overall competency. I think one of the issues I find, particularly people who've had greater exposure to the higher education sector, where there is a strong focus on knowledge, come to vet education and think it's purely knowledge, whereas I'd reinforce that it's about demonstrating your capability.
Exactly right, exactly right. And one of the things that as course advisors we get asked quite a bit is regarding the grading system. Now, it is based on a competent or not yet competent system. And that might seem a little bit imposing at first. It might seem a little bit different, especially for people who have been on courses before where they were graded maybe on credit, distinction, etc. What we recommend is, as this is based on practical skills, it's simply a case of, can you do the task, or do you need a bit more work on it? Do you need to have another attempt at it? So really, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of showing us you can do the task, and that will get you competency at the end of the day. We'll move on now to next section, which is on credit transfers and RPL. Now, this is a big question we get asked quite a bit, so we'll just take a moment to go through this. Now, there is a large difference between a credit transfer assessment and a recognition of prior learning, or RPL assessment. Ray, as someone who has quite a bit of background in doing RPL assessments, perhaps you'd like to step in and give us a bit more detail on that.
Sure. Credit transfer process is certainly more efficient, and I say that from a time, from processing point of view. With credit transfer, it presumes you've completed another vocational education and training course, and I qualify vet. So, for example, you've done recruitment and onboarding, coordinate recruitment and onboarding as part of a certificate program with another registered training organisation, and you're wanting to obtain advanced standing or recognition of it. We're comparing apples with apples. You've done a course, it's still recognised, it's equivalent perhaps to an existing course. We're able to say, yep, based on the certified evidence that you've provided, a copy of your transcript or your authenticated vet statement, that we are able to recognise that for you. So, as I say, apples for apples. Recognition of prior learning is a little bit more detailed and certainly requires much more evidence produced to demonstrate your capability. RPL is talking about situations outside of the formalised education system where you've developed a range of skills through experience, through non-formal training, perhaps even through some aspects of formal training over a lengthy period of time, and you believe now that you've got all of the requirements to meet the unit's specifications or the elements of the unit. It involves you putting together what we call a portfolio of evidence, samples of workplace materials that you've been involved in developing and implementing, processing over your professional career. You're then submitting it to justify that, or to demonstrate that you're able to do what the unit requires. From an assessor point of view, we then go through all of that evidence and engage in a lengthy mapping, what we call mapping process, to see that, yep, what you have sent through clearly demonstrates that you can do this. Of course, when we're dealing with workplace evidence, we do make sure that encouraging everyone to de-identify and redact certainly commercial in confidence information.
Okay, no worries. I do notice we have a question in chat. We will get to that in just a moment because I just wanted to point out that the RPL assessments and also credit transfer assessments can be requested at any stage of your training. So at any point during your enrolment term, if you are completing a unit and you think to yourself, I might be able to get RPL for this, or I have previously done this, you are always able to speak to your tutor and they would then be able to provide you the relevant information. Now, another topic that comes up relates to gap training. Now, Ray, this is to do with RPL. Could you give a quick run through on what gap training is?
Sure. So I mentioned needing to provide evidence that you meet the requirements of the unit. That evidence, for example, might say, yep, or demonstrate that, yes, you have achieved or demonstrated competency in 3/4 of the requirements. So, you know, there are 4 elements that need to be proven. You can prove 3. We would then put together an assessment task, so training and assessment around the gap that's been identified that you then complete to supplement the evidence that you've provided. So RPL process is not an all or nothing. It may be that you can partially prove or partially evidence your capability. We then do a gap assessment, as you said, to address where we've recognised that omission, what's been omitted.
Great, thanks for that. Now, the question in chat was regarding fees. I can confirm credit transfer assessments do not incur any additional fees. This is because, as Ray has previously stated, it is simply comparing previous study to the current course. For the previous study, in terms of credit transfers, we do require a certified copy of your transcripts from the provider or organisation you studied through. In terms of RPL, yes, there is a fee. Now, this fee does change. It varies depending on the number of units you will be requesting an RPL assessment for, and also the specific course that you'll be doing it at. So, for example, the costs between a certificate for and a diploma unit do change. We would recommend to always get in touch with either our admin team or, if you are enrolled, with the tutor, and they would be able to provide you with information on the fees. However, I will also advise that an initial RPL consultation, which can be done prior to enrolment, does not incur any fees. You can get that done before you enroll. A tutor can sit down with you and discuss potential areas where you can get RPL in the course based on a brief overview of your work history, and that does not incur any fees. And we'll just move on there, and we'll move on to student support services. Now, as we've previously discussed, we do provide multiple support services. To book in those consultations, those support services, you can contact us at the number there, 0296333929. You can also email. You can email your tutor, and you are provided with their email address at Enrolment. You are also able to email our admin team and book those in as well. We've just jumped ahead there, my apologies. If you have any questions relating to your inquiry, if you are looking to enroll, but you do have further questions that may not have been touched on yet, you're more than welcome to email the course advisors at enquire@lettraining.com.au. We also have Facebook groups that have been set up, and they are divided into Certificate 4 and Diploma and Advanced Diploma support groups. We'll just move on quickly now to enrolment. You are able to enroll at any time. You can enroll directly via the link to the course information page on our website there, which is listed there, that email address, that web address, my apologies. Alternatively, you can contact us by phone, and we can set up your enrolment. That's at 0296333929. You can also email us an enrolment form to enquire@lettraining.com.au. I see we have another question in chat. Let me just have a look at this. Can I enroll with a payment plan over the website? That is a good question. All of Let Training's courses can be paid off via payment plans. You don't have to pay the entire course fees up front. Our plans include weekly, fortnightly, and monthly payment plans. And yes, you are able to enroll on our website using a payment plan. Alternatively, you are also able to submit an enrolment form to us. And we'll just move on here. Here we go. Here's some more information on those payment plans that I was just discussing. As we see here, we have to have the specific payment plans for the Certificate for in HR Management as they stand today. So as you see there, your minimum upfront to get started is $150, and that can then be followed by weekly or fortnightly payment installments. We also provide a monthly payment plan. The upfront fee for that would be $300. We also offer payment plans where you can pay 50% of the course upfront and then 50% within 30 or 60 days. Now, some of these do incur an admin fee. However, the admin fee is provided in the course information packs we've sent out, and we're also very happy to discuss them with you as well. I see we have another question here. Let me just have a look at this. Do we consider customized payment plans? Yes, we do. We are able to customize a payment plan. However, we will need to discuss that with you prior to enrollment. We will also then need to discuss it with our admin and accounts teams. In some circumstances, we are able to customize them specifically to the student's request. Alternatively, we are also able to provide as near as we can get. I will just point out that the upfront payment of $150 minimum will remain regardless of the customization. That is one thing we do need to set in stone there. And we'll just move on now to the next section. The next section is regarding questions. Okay, we're going to open the floor up now as we're getting near the end of this orientation. If there are any questions that anyone has in chat, go right ahead. We'll just wait another moment here and see if anyone's going to come through. Doesn't appear like we're getting any questions at this time. So we might begin to finish up the orientation here. Now, if you do have any further questions regarding the course, if there are any elements that perhaps you'd like a bit more information on, you can contact the course advisors. I am one of them. You can email us at enquire@lettraining.com.au, or alternatively, you can give us a call at 02 9633 3929. You can reach us between 9 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, Sydney time. We also have an FAQ section on our website that you can visit there at lettraining.com.au/FAQ. We are also available on Facebook at LetTraining1. But for now, I believe we will finish up the video there. As I said, this has been the orientation video for our Certificate 4 in Work Health and in Human Resource Management. My apologies there. I'd like to thank Ray for his information and assistance today. Thanks for that, Ray.
My pleasure completely, Tim. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to welcoming learners both to Let Training and their journey in the HR pathway.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Ray. So, I see we've just got one last question here. You're more than welcome. So with that being said, we will shut down here. As I said, my name is Tim Stalker. I'm a course advisor here at Let Training, and this has been the orientation video for our Certificate 4 in HR Management. Thanks for your attendance and have a great day.